Hello YouTube, what is up? It's summertime, and as you can see, I need a haircut. Actually, I need all of them cut. I cracked myself up. Anyway, you don't usually go to a barber shop. I usually cut my own hair. And I know that's real shocking that people can cut their own hair, but I do it all the time. Let me show you my system. Now, in order to cut your own hair, you're going to need a few simple things. And, they may cost a little bit of money to start with, but usually it's less than the cost of a haircut anyway, so you're coming out ahead virtually instantly. Let me show you. First and most obvious, you are going to need a pair of scissors. Get yourself a really good pair. Even really good pairs are cheap. And make sure when you get them, they are ambidextrous, because you're going to need to use both hands. It's not as hard as it sounds. Also, you're going to need a mirror so that you can cut the back of your head. And you're going to need a sheep shearer kit, or a personal grooming appliance, whatever you want to call it. And finally, to make cleanup simpler, you're going to need 1 or 2 garbage bags. One for the sink below the mirror, and one for the floor possibly if you don't have an easy to clean floor. And that's pretty much it. Another thing I like to do to keep the cleanup more manageable is to cut my hair while I'm naked. As you can see, I am not. I will spare you that pain, but I recommend that you do so. Now, the first step in cutting your own hair is first to take a shower, get your hair all nice and clean, and towel it so that it's damp. Not sopping wet, not dry, but damp. This makes it easier to cut. So let's take care of that. Okay, so I'm now clean, mind, body, and hair. Hair's still damp, and I've also taken the time to comb the part in my hair to exactly where I want it. That's an important step. I forgot to mention you also need a comb, but who doesn't have a comb? So, next thing we need to do is comb your hair so that it's hanging down over your eyes. Okay? Hanging down nice and straight. And then take your scissors and cut the hair just above your eyebrows. Let's see, I like to go from the part side over, just so I keep the line straight. And you don't want to cut it much shorter than this, or it will just stick up. And that's not the look I'm going for. So, here we go. Lean over the plastic bag so I don't make a mess. Got to keep the piece, that might be a little bit too short. Let's see. Okay, that step is done. Now, I'm going to comb over to the side. And now, the next thing we want to do is turn our head sideways so the hair on the other side of our head is all hanging down. And we get it so that it's all dangling down. And then, take a look at where I've cut the hair in front of my head. You can see it falls right about here. Now this sets the line for the whole rest of the side of my head. So now what I do is I keep my head tilted this way, and I just start cutting along, and I cut all the hair down to the level that my bangs were, right in front. So that makes it fairly short on the sides, but that's kind of the look I'm going for. So let's get to it while my hair is still wet. And you just pull it down. Hope we're getting all this. And as I'm going, I'm turning my head slightly so that I can keep on cutting further back around the side of my head. And I just keep going as far as I can see. I'll poof it out to make sure I don't miss any. Okay, that could be a mess. Okay, now I've got this side of my head done. And what you want to do is kind of make a mental note as to where the hair lies here, because now we have to do the same thing on the other side. So let's tilt our head back around and use the comb to fluff this side of the hair out. And now I'm going to cut about that much into the other side of my head. And this is where you're going to need your left-handed scissors or your ambidextrous scissors. I happen to be right-handed, but this is where you have to cut with your left hand. So I'll start off with my right, but as you can see, it gets awkward pretty quick. So away we go. Go slower on this side. If you just go slow and watch what you're doing in the mirror, you won't mess up using your other hand. And you just keep on working your way around and back as far as you can see. Alright, that's not too bad. It's a little shorter than it was. Maybe I'll get a little bit more out of there. Use the right hand and back here. That's the neat thing. If you don't like what you're doing, you can always just cut a little bit more, and you know, it's going to grow back. So not such a killer if you do something wrong. Alright. Alright. I think that's good enough for now. Now, as long as you've got your scissors out, get the hair over your ears. I like to cut it around my ears. And now's a good time to attend to that. The hair is getting a little drier, so the individual strands are easier to manage. They fall a little better. It's still wet on top though, and that's important. Okay. Now for the top of the head. Now, once again, we're going to set our benchmark by how long we cut it in front, because in the middle of my head, it's still a lot longer. So what I do is, I make combs out of my fingers, like this. I'm sure you've seen the barber do this a million times. And I make it so that I have clumps of hair sticking through my fingers. And as you can see, this is the length of the hair in front, and that's how long I want all of it to be. So I make my hand level with the top of my head. Haha, this looks funny, doesn't it? I hope this is the video thumbnail. This will be great. Anyway, now what I do is, I have this length, and now I just lay the scissors on top of my hand, and I cut away all the hair that's sticking out past my hand. Alright? Just like this. See how that works? And the thing about it is, when I put my scissors on top of my hand and I'm cutting along, I'm basically cutting by feel. I can't see the scissors. I can't know what I'm doing, but I've got the length, and I can't cut too short. And I can do everything by feel. And this is how you cut the back of your head. You just do it by feel. Okay, I've got pretty much all the hair there. Nice sharp scissors. So, I'll just work my way back a little bit farther. Now the farther back I get, I make it so my hand is closer to the top of my head. So the hair gets a little shorter the further back I go. And once again, I do everything by feel, not looking at it at all. I know my hair looks kind of a mess right now, but once I get a comb through it and I get all the extra hair out of it, everything will be just fine. And what I do is I just keep doing this all the way to the back of my head. And you can see my hand is getting a little closer to the top of my head. I'm just going to keep on cutting from my hand, cutting by feel. Now, everyone's head has a little bit different shape. Mine is like most people, where I have kind of a hump at the crown of my head, and then it works its way inward a little bit and then straight back to the neck. Now usually what you want to have is your hair kind of in a bowl shape around the back of your head. So in this area I'm going to have my hand a little bit further away from my head so that I get that bowl shape of hair in back instead of hugging the contour of my skull. So onwards to the back of the head. Once again, don't have to see it. I just have to feel it. And I feel the distance between my hand and the top of my head. That's about where I want it. And I'm getting in toward the concave area of my skull, so I'll just work my way out a little bit more. And now I'll cut that by feel. There we go. And if I have my back toward the sink like this, that means that every little bit of hair is pretty much falling on the plastic. And it's not getting everywhere. Alright, so I'm almost done back here. Just grab the tail. And now I'll put this finger pretty close to my head, and I'll keep this finger farther away so that once again I have that bowl shape in the back of my head. Doesn't have to be perfect. Not too many people are going to judge you by how the back of your head looks. It's nice, but don't sweat it too much. Okay, almost done. Now, I've handled the sides of my head and the very back of my head. The only areas I need to work on are kind of these two corner areas back here. They're still a little bit sketchy. So I'm going to do one or two little finger combings back here to kind of even everything out. And again, I'm going to keep my hand a little bit further away up here than I am down here. I'm not catching very much hair here. I think I pretty much got that already. Yeah, not much hair there. Okay. Now, let's take a comb to things. And that's not too bad. Now I'm going to have to get rid of this shirt, obviously, because this is all hair. If I put a garbage bag over my head, like a barber shop does, I'd probably boil from the heat. I can't stand that. Alright, now, the final thing we have to do here is to do a little cleanup with the sheep shearer. So, let's take care of that. And for that, you're going to need your second mirror. So, let's see, actually, I think I'll first... That's not too bad. The ears and around the eyeglasses. Okay, that's all good. And now, just get the area above your collar straight. This is another thing you can kind of do by feel, but I like to have a mirror handy so I can kind of see what I'm working with. Alright. And now for the left hand. Oh boy. Took a little too much off that time. Let's even that out a little bit. Once again, this is the back of our head. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Okay, job done. That's all there is to it. Actually, there's one last thing that you need to do, besides the cleanup, of course, and that is take another shower. Clean all the hair off your head and your body and everything else, so now everything's nice and clean, and let that dry and you should be all set. So, let's take care of that. Okay, YouTube, my hair's had time to dry, and this is the result. It's not exactly perfect. If I were going on an interview or something, I'd probably go to an actual barber, but it's good enough for going to work or just casual everyday knocking around. So I've saved myself a lot of money and a lot of time because I haven't had to wait in line at a salon or anything like that. So, mission accomplished. Thanks for watching.